Welcome to Mining Now. We have a return guest on DMC Mining. They were on the show, I think it was a couple years ago now. We have Miha Yazero on. Great to have you back, Miha. I think, it has been a couple years. Maybe just give us a quick update of what's been going on with DMC the last couple years, sort of a bird's eye view of anybody new viewers to the show who don't know who DMC is.
So DMC is a mining constructor, actually, to be precise, underground mine constructor and service provider. And we've been doing a lot in the last couple of years, and our company was successful. So the change was very visible in the company, in our revenue stream, in our market shares, in our new different types of jobs and services that we deliver. So it was a very exciting time. This last couple of years, exactly the years that we didn't talk to each other. So it's actually a lot to report since our last interview. We've grown in Chile a lot, and we've solidified our position in Canada, and at the same time we opened up also a significant project in the USA. We were always present in the USA, but this was very minimal presence, and now it becomes a presence that is visible. So we are very happy from the development of the company for the last 5 years.
Maybe I'll do it in some sections then. So for you in the leadership, and I'm always gleaning from these conversations because I'm in a leadership position and I get all these little tidbits from people. In the last couple of years, you've been at it a while. You've been in the industry a while. You've been the head of the company now for how long? How long have you been the CEO of DMC?
It's been 6 years. So I started for DMC to work for DMC in 2018.
In 18, did you start as the CEO?
Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
In the last couple of years, where do you think, in your leadership role, either from a business standpoint, or from developing your team, where do you think you've made some strong decisions, just personally in your leadership role?
Look, I was actually trying to recall very recently, what have we done so good that we grew so much, and that the company really solidified, that atmosphere is good, and there is a drive and passion in employees, and we are almost extending every client we get new. We just extend the client. When the client gives us the chance, we just grow with the client. And I was actually wondering, what have we done? Because this was like automatically done, right? It was not something that we went through and designed up front. It was more like instinctive, decisions. At the same time, they were very well funded in my own, as a leader, perception of what has to be done to make the company successful. And I would say it's definitely listen to the clients, but also to be reliable and predictable for our clients. So it's actually a little bit of, I would say it's a little bit old-fashioned strategy, right?
Right.
Very simple strategy. Just go and do whatever you can do best to satisfy your client. And you could say everybody does that, but I think everybody thinks that everybody does that, but not really everybody does that.
Right. No, I do know what you mean.
You know what I mean, right? So we are really good at that, to listen to our clients. We never lie in our estimations, and we never lie in our predictions, even if it costs us to lose the project, right? So we take the projects that we can deliver. And when we say something about the project, we say, honestly, when it should cost more, we just share this information with the client, right? Different dynamics, various dynamics in corporations. But as soon as we have the door open and we build the trust, the clients prefer actually to have the predictability and trust and know what is to be expected, than just to gamble, with a new price and, take take a risk for, I don't know, 10% less somewhere. Sometimes it's not even less, right? Like we usually deliver the price that is very competitive. It's more about price and the trust and the performance and quality of work, right? So we were definitely quality provider for all these last years. Obviously, we compete with the price. There is no chance that you can go higher than the market gives you.
Yeah.
But just the price is given. Like almost everybody tries, unless someone is trying to buy the market. But otherwise, the costs are known, and the client knows them as well.
Right.
So this is what's the winner is this predictability. It's this solid work. It's a good team. Like, and when the client really recognize, like, oh yeah, like these guys have a strong team, they prefer to work with strong team.
Have you been able to, you've talked about retaining clients. Have you been able to retain key team members over the last several years as well?
Yes, I think it's part of the success. Yes,
yeah.
Our industry is pretty small. Like, in terms of like very high positions, like CEO, operational managers, project managers. It's actually a fairly limited world, in terms of individuals that are known and bring certain reliability or trust to deliver project.
Right.
And we've proven to have very strong team from the operational side.
You said something I want to touch on it because it's such a key part. Is you said well funded. And I'm glad you said that because some people will like avoid talking about the money side of it. I always joke, it's actually a very Canadian thing. We'll talk about everything but the money.
No, I'm not very Canadian. It's disadvantage, but sometimes it's an advantage also because like you know what you're getting, right?
Exactly.
Like you don't need to read between the lines, right?
Yeah,
like it's
we're gonna work
everything open at the table.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. But what I was, how important is that part of it? Because people sometimes don't talk about it enough. Like, I want to be specific with the question. When you're well financed, what does that allow you to do that you can't do if you're not, or not, maybe not completely non-financed, but not financed in the way you should be? Does it allow you to, pick your jobs better, quote it better, get the right equipment? Like, what are the advantages that you get as a company with that position?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting question. And this is actually very critical to all of us. So us and our competitors.
Right.
The clients, they expect a financing from contractors, right? They expect extended payment terms. They expect delivery of hardware for delivering the work, right? So you have to fund your own capital, both hardware and the labor, to provide to the client, almost like a credit, and they pay you later on. And the stronger you are financially, the better quality and the better solidity of the work you can provide to the client. And our situation is a little bit specific because on the other hand, you have obviously the flexibility and quick decision making process and quality of your delivery, right? So one side is the financial work, the other side is this service like type quality. So quality means like speed, flexibility, quality of operational work. And we are part of a bigger corporation. So we are funded by a mining company, which is pretty rare. Our competition is either private, like private in the hands of private individuals, or it's owned by PEs, right? Like private investment companies, funds, and right. they kind of run it, right? They step down and they choose the managers and they provide certain strategy to grow for these companies. And I don't know any other company that is actually owned by a bigger mining corporation from our market. There might be some, I don't know, maybe in Australia or somewhere far, but like in our environment in North America, I think we are pretty untypical. And this brings certain advantage. So we obviously have like a supporting capital, whatever we need. If we can prove that this is solid and we can provide return on investment, we will have support on that.
Right.
From our,
So you can really focus on the business case and not the finance. As long as the financial, the ROI is there, it's just the business case. You can zero in on that fully.
Exactly. And our owner, it's a big Polish corporation, was actually smart to allow the company like us, like DMC, to navigate itself differently than the typical mining company, because mining and mining constructions are very different businesses, and they understood it. The leadership from Poland understands it, and they are actually driving the progress also for DMC to grow, but also to be flexible in terms of its procedures, its style,
Yeah.
its business acumen and business orientation, right? Like obviously the company like DMC, so services provider, has to be very flexible, right? Has to be very client oriented. This is obviously lacking in big corporations who have a lot of, complicated, convoluted procedures because they have different priorities, right? Their priority is not to support anyone, not to provide anything, just to control itself, not to let the product, leak outside of the system, right? I would use such a allegoric expression. Whereas with the mining construction, you have to deliver very measurable results in a very measurable amount of time, period of time, right? So for that, your procedures are only as important as they are in line with your goal. So you cannot have too complicated procedures because you're losing on them. If you lose time at some point, like your break-even point is in your procedure to, let's say, save money on procurement, is actually counterproductive and negative because you lose so much money on delivering the procedure.
Right. That's interesting.
That your benefit is negative, right? Like it's a loss, not a benefit.
Right.
But at the same time, lean procedures, especially when you grow, and when you organize the flow, the process, the company in a proper way, this brings value. So if you have a smart and good board of directors who understands the differences, you can actually design quite a good, that's we are example. You can design a proper separation of duties and treat this business differently, and that definitely brings success. Obviously, when the company is able to accommodate a proper team, right, for execution, like that's a must, right? And I always used to listen or hear like no one is irreplaceable. But at the same time, like from what I see in our business, if you lose one key person in a key position, it's extremely hard to replace for the same level of quality.
Right. Yeah.
And this quality makes a difference, makes a huge difference. So we have a strong team in both supporting functions like finance, like operations, like main operations. We have a very strong team in health and safety, and these are the major components that build a company, right? Obviously, from those key managers, everything goes down because good managers on the top, they also accommodate, they attract another managers, like middle managers,
Right.
to work with that, right? Like obviously, managers want to learn and they want to learn from the best. So if you accommodate the best, obviously also your support on the third and fourth level
Yeah.
is also accommodating better quality
Right.
of people.
Well, I was actually going to ask you what your engineering side. I don't know how big your engineering team, but you have quite a robust engineering division, isn't that right?
Yeah. Yes, yes. We have quite large engineering division, and we used to have debate in the past, like if whenever the company like ours really needs this strong engineering team. Uh, but I'm glad, like I was pretty stubborn on that. On that time, it was like really like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 6 years ago, and it has proved itself over time.
Sorry, just to clarify, to bring you made an in-house team. That's what you.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, you have an in-house team,
Okay.
which is covering all the functions. So like, structural, mechanical, electrical, all what you need. And it's not just one person in every just to control and kind of substitute with external companies, but to have it in-house. It's just so much support for executional side. It's not only delivering, engineering for the clients, but it's also a lot of synergy with our own operations. So we have external jobs just for pure engineering. We have a big engineering for big project that we provide, and we have a lot of small engineering to provide to change and support our operations. And obviously, like, operations can go like when they feel it's more flexible and faster. Sometimes they go outside, right? They don't use our engineering. But for everything what's slightly bigger, requires certain concept to build a methodology. Like no one can do it better than the engineers that know our executional team.
Right.
And the executional team that knows and has like direct contact with the engineers every day, right? They can grab the phone and, put a direct dial and just have the answer right away.
Well, so I'm going to bring two different things we've talked about together then, because in bidding, one of the issues is the scope of work cannot be fully realized as you're putting in the bid. And you talked about telling the truth. And you were talking, I kind of jumped in and said, you probably didn't hear me. I said, are you ever tempted to lie? Because you said we never lie. I said, are you ever tempted? And I would actually rephrase that in when you're trying to bid on a job, if you don't know full scope, you're kind of sometimes forced to, or feel like you're being forced to try to sort of measure the scope without having the full information. Does this large engineering team, does that eliminate some of that risk as a mining contractor, that you get a lot closer to the actual project?
Mm-hmm. It does. But remember, like garbage in, garbage out. So the engineering is helpful when they have a spectrum of information that they need.
Right.
But the good things also, or a strength is like when you have a good engineering, they also know what they need, and they know that they didn't get something that they need, and they tell you like, look, this is like 30%, unknown because we didn't get this, and this. So we give you certain assumptions, but without certain information, more information, we cannot deliver like 100% of assumptions. So for our methodologies and for our projects, engineering is a must. Almost all of that, right? It's involved in almost every bid, I would say.
So how do you do that?
The bigger the bigger the tender, the more in engineering involvement.
So how do you bid on these jobs when the scope is not fully? I mean, if going outside of the mining industry, there's a water treatment plant.
It's never like unknown, right? Like the companies well, let's say when it's a junior company and they really don't know what's the scope, what's this about.
Yeah.
It's really vague. We actually avoid bidding such as
I
that,
see.
right?
Okay.
It's just too unknown, too risky. Like we explain why and what we answer, but like we say like if we don't have this backbone at least of information, then we're not able to deliver anything substantial, and we don't work to deliver something that's not substantial.
Right. Okay. So you are eliminating those.
We've done it in the past. We realize it's wrong, so we just come up front and say, like, if we don't have certain package of information, it doesn't make sense for us to sit down and work on it.
Well, and I'm going back because you were very specific. You said we do not lie, and that's a very direct thing to say on an interview. And it kind of what you're saying. It reminds me of a thing, a very famous prayer, of course. That lead us not into temptation. Don't set yourself up to be dishonest, because if you don't have the information, there's no way you can provide the right.
Let's be honest here and frank. There's always temptation, right? Like you get. Like things look great, and like you kind of feel like, oh, when I cut the corner here and there, I might actually win. Maybe my competition is going to do that, and I'm encouraging our managers not to think like that. I believe this is a very short-sighted, and from having a proper strategy and keep your own principles, you win very quickly. You think it's a very long term, like you trade the today gain for some unknown long term stuff. That's not true. Your long term gain actually comes much faster than you expected, and the cost for your cutting corner also come very fast, like faster than you would expect.
Yeah, I'm going to throw out a theory of why I think that is because when you take on something you shouldn't have taken on, it's like you're taking on a weight.
Yes.
And if you have 5 or 6 of those weights, it's slowing you down. If you just didn't have it, you'd at least be able to get to the next thing. But all that time and the bad issues, the bad projects will take up way more time than the good ones.
And look, the good clients, like the big and smart clients, they recognize it very quickly.
Right.
As soon as they start to work with us, they just give us more work, right? Because it's predictability for the management. It's some sort of assurance, like, okay, like if we go with those guys, we kind of know what we can expect, right?
Yeah.
It's a big advantage.
Well, I was actually like I had some stats here, like your mine shaft sinking 21 plus, your contract mining 86 plus, mining development 107, raise bore and Alimac raise 76 plus. A crazy amount of projects.
These are huge numbers, but we must admit they came over a long period of time. Right. We are right now like a mid-range provider of these services, right? Like they're like 2 biggest ones, or like 2-3 biggest ones who are like twice or even more bigger than us. Then it's like a bunch of companies in our size, and they are the smaller ones, right? They're like more like a localized companies who deliver, and they usually don't have capital for like big projects. They don't have also capacity in engineering to deliver really big methodology for like, I don't know, sinking 2 or 3 shafts at the same time, or bringing different methodology like SBR or special methodologies in drill and blast, even for going very deep with shafts. We do have it. So we are able to deliver like 2 or 3 shafts at the same time, and we are able to work with mechanical excavation a lot. So we are actually specialists in that. So, but this brings us in like a second tier, right? Let's be honest. We are pretending we are growing very fast and just kind of knocking on this
right, yeah.
And it will take some time until we are on the first league.
This is so interesting, though. Again, I'm half promoting you, but I'm also half picking your brain. So you're kind of in this tier, but you know all these advantages you have, and you're sort of doubling down on those advantages, which is slowly sort of pushing you into that next tier.
Yes, and we'll definitely work hard not to lose our identity, and what I said is about this honesty, flexibility, and client orientation. They are not empty words for us, and the passion of the team also comes from certain atmosphere and certain way we do things. So even if we grow, and we grew a lot in the last 5 years, but we didn't change in terms of the attitude of our management. What we've changed is processes. Obviously, we grow, we need to adjust the process to the bigger size of the company. And there are tools for that today, right? There's a lot of software support and project management solutions.
So like sort of, sorry.
Digitalized. They are like helping you to run the company, like and the managers to run the company. So save time and have, I always call it like, have our company structured in organized fashion.
Right.
So like I'm repeating that our managers, we have to organize ourselves, right? Like, so we have to know where the things are on the shelf. We have to know who is doing what and when. But it doesn't mean we should, over complicate our procedures, or that we have to have like 1,000 policies for everything that nobody knows and nobody follows. So it's striking the proper balance,
right?
Always between those. But like, luckily, as I said, like there's understanding from our owner, but it's also a support from today's technologies for that. There is software companies who deliver a lot of supporting software for organizing company like ours with all the functions. Coming from a simple supporting functions like traveling or vacation or approvals, going to more difficult, right? More complex, like estimation, budgeting, and project execution, project management, inventory, you name it, right?
Well, that leads me to another question. Then, how do you keep your team going in the same direction, especially when you're adding in new software, new processes? I imagine a lot of people in your team have years and years of experience. They know how to do it a certain way.
You can't live without the growing pains. No, not like you have them, right? That's unavoidable. But when the team is passionate and wants like it's actually expecting the change, is driving the change, then it's better, right? Like if you have roadblockers, you have to educate them and kind of be a part of it. Otherwise, well, you have to have the variety in the company, right? Like you have to have people who just drive everything forward, but like you have to have people also who kind of close the back. So it's always a proper compromise between those two. But to go forward, you need to have the understanding from entire team that this is needed, right? And everybody has to contribute to actually get rid of all Excel sheets and take a new software and learn how to use it and really use it, right? Not to have a backup still like silently in your Excel sheet, but
that's kind of what I was. Yes.
Your new software and just really use it, right? Like really like enjoy it and not just be like punished by new software.
Yeah, well, that's actually what I was getting at. Is these systems sometimes are actually quite a process to onboard. Like I've heard of systems and they're great. What they accomplish is incredible, but it's like a 2-year onboarding process because you've got to get it integrated into the system. You've got to get everybody trained.
Cost and its maintenance cost. Yes, like actually, if you really look at the company like ours that works with very low margins, right? We have lower margins in mining than the other services. They're probably not the lowest because it's still very specific. But for us, for our maintaining sustainability, they are low, right? Like they are very competitive. For a company like ours, you have to watch very carefully the cost and even like development of software, like implementation, training, your licensing cost. You have to calculate it very well. Do you really need it, or can you work with simpler tools, right? So if you're over ambitious and you spend a lot of money and then you don't have backup with your growth, then it's a wrong investment, right? So we're going, I always say 20 miles a day. I don't know if you know the story about Amundsen and catching, like going to the North Pole.
No.
There were like two teams and the one was going like when the weather was good, they were trying to catch up, and when weather was bad, they were like staying and trying to survive. And Amundsen was just like 20 miles every day, no matter what. It's raining or snowing, I go 20 miles. It's sun and I could do 30, but no, I still do 20, right? Because this is my plan. And when I go 20, I will reach my goal. And this is what we are trying to do. We're just going 20 miles a day, right? We are investing into the software, but this is the most important and the one that we can utilize on a certain stage of development, right? This is the one that we feel that today, or in a certain period of our development, it will provide value, right? And we calculate this value in money very, very precisely. Well, I would say like then come the software companies and they always raise the price and they always like you have trouble, so you almost have incalculate your inefficiency at the very end.
Yeah.
When you're down the road, you probably spend more, but as long as you grow, as we grow, I see a benefit from that. And some things today, you just can't live without, right? Like really a few years ago, there was zero social media presence of companies like us.
Right.
Now it's everywhere. And you would say that there's like zero value from that, right? Like you're in very niche specific market, right? Why would you even open a LinkedIn or Instagram or a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Right? But everybody has it. It's like a visit card today, right? All our competition without names, they all have, LinkedIn accounts, and they are kind of compete like who's looking better. It's maybe a competition between ourselves. It's not really like, our clients do care much about that, but it's a streaming perception of reliability of the company, and everybody watches that.
Yeah, and competency. It's a way to share competency. That's the other thing that's if it's done right. If you're, just promoting your latest.
You have to do it right. Yeah,
you have to do it right. Yeah.
You have to know who's your public, right?
Yeah.
Like these are conservative managers from mining industries. So they have certain expectations, right? They look for some things, right? Like,
yeah.
We give a lot of technical stuff. Like we give like personal stuff here and there, right? Like and it's actually also having a lot of clicks. Let's call it like that. But from my experience, like if you can show something technical what's interesting, this is like they all jump on it. Right?
Well, we see it. In our business, we see it in a huge way. We always tell people, like, I come out of the mining equipment space. So when you're sitting around in like a lunchroom or in a meeting, people are not talking about a company's leadership initiative. That's not what the discussion. If we're talking about DMC, we're not talking about your leadership initiative. We're talking about a project that you've done, new development. Oh, that your team grew. They have a whole engineering division, so they can actually do this, and this. That's the way people are talking. They're So I think sometimes companies, you're talking about technical information. I think sometimes companies, they want to tell more of the story, but they miss out that people are sitting there waiting for information. We do tire episodes with like a Cal Tire, and people watch them for hours and hours and hours. But the reason is because tires are on everything. So people are getting the information about the tires from these platforms.
I'm one of them, right? Like I watch programs on YouTube about like cars and tires, or like some medicine stuff. It's my own hobby, or travels. I love diving, and then I go to different places, and it's all
technical.
Like, it just everything was very soft and like very shallow. Our clients and the managers who work for our clients, or even our managers, we look for.
Yeah, well, I think it was maybe Bill Maher. He said that nowadays people either they have an attention span of about 10 seconds or like 3 hours. It's like what? Everything in between is just sort of this no man's land now. Everybody's like these huge, long conversations online, or these little short clips on TikTok. It's quite interesting. Before I let you go, I wanted to just ask, is there a project that I got a note in front of me, the Victoria Shaft Sinking Project out in Sudbury.
Yes.
I just wondered if we could talk about a project to wrap it up, to sort of bring it back to like on the ground operations. Maybe just walk us through that project, why it was successful, how you approached it.
Of course. There's no secret. We are on this project already for 3 years, and this project, this is actually initial phase. This is so-called exploration phase. As just building one shaft. The project has just got a permit called closure plan, application of closure plan for the full mine development. So this is a green light for the second production shaft, and the mine is going to produce over 1 million tons of ore every year. And we are right now, I believe it's not a secret, on 650 meters of the shaft sinking. This is quite a nice achievement. We, as I said, we started with a plain field in 2021. It's 2024, and we are with whole infrastructure, surface infrastructure. We're 650 meter underground.
Wow.
We are going to 1850 level, 1,800 meters in this first shaft, and the second will be even deeper. This is still, to be decided, but this is very exciting and challenging project. So far, it was run, knock on the woods, very well. We are very successful with our advance rate, with all the infrastructure building, with safety. We are aiming to finish in just somewhere between 27 and 28, the first phase. And this is a big deal for whole Sudbury area, for I would say for Ontario, because it's like this size of a new mine development. I believe this is pretty unique. So it's very interesting and very exciting project. It's the biggest that we have right now as a single project.
Wow.
But obviously we have projects everywhere. We have projects in Canada, US, and Chile. We are working for the biggest copper producer in Chile, for Codelco. Not only we have, like several different clients, but this is the biggest client. The one that we value a lot. And we were again successful to convince the client that we are a reliable service provider.
And it starts
back to Canada, because you asked about that. Victoria project is very special to us because it's owned by our own group. So it's owned by the same owner, like who owns us.
I see. Oh, okay.
And like it would almost looks like, it must be easy for you, right? Like just go and cash money. Nothing like that. It's actually very challenging in terms of like provide this assurance of reliability and openness and transparency, and at the same time keep the efficiency and flexibility of a contractor. Right. So it's actually a challenge for us, and I believe so far we were able to have this good connection and good understanding with the client and with the team on the other side, which is really treating us like every other contractor, to actually build a platform for a compromise and good dialogue, right? So because this is important, like if there is too much of a clash of ambitions, it's always counterproductive to the project. Mm-hmm. No matter if it's your group or it's external client or whatever, it's always counterproductive. We've seen it in the past with different clients, and it was always navigating project to some value destruction or value creation. Mm-hmm. So if the contractor's firm is kind of, I wouldn't say smarter, but it's like wise or experienced, it works towards the good of the project.
Right.
Yeah, and this goal is important, right? Like sometimes just to find what's the best for the project requires a lot of dialogue and mutual understanding and sometimes even a tough exchange, right? But like you have to be firm if you believe in something and you believe this is better for the project, you have to articulate it. And the client also, client always articulates because
that they always articulate. I was actually
privileged, right, and stronger. But like you as a contractor, you sometimes have to deliver the information to the client, even if it's not necessarily what client would like to hear, but like you have to be honest and you have to be clear about like what's coming.
And sooner than later.
Yes.
Before I let you go, I have one more sort of question. It probably may involve a couple questions, but in a project like this in Sudbury, what is your involvement like from the first, like you personally, when you're developing the scope of the project, the engineering, when it actually starts, the shaft actually starts getting sunk? What are you involved in, sort of at the CEO level?
Yeah, so like it's a little bit tricky because I'm very hands-on, so I was involved in very many small things. Like
Right.
On our projects, I sometimes not really. I know personally crew on the ground, and our crane operator is a buddy that I talk face to face a couple of times, and kind of kick him out of the seat and sit in the crane or go down with them. Like they just like it, right?
Yeah.
And they see that I like it, so it's like a mutual, right? So I'm very hands-on, and it's a visible leadership. I must say, the more we grow, obviously, like this is spreading between different projects and sites and people.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder for me to really kind of enjoy that much direct contact with our employees who really deliver the work. But like, I hope they know I value them, and they kind of know that I've been there before, and even if I cannot go there every month, I come maybe once a quarter, right, to every site and can talk to them and see how they are and how we are doing, like really how we are doing, right? Like really what's up there. And I think it's an advantage, right? Like it's like if I have a passion, obviously the whole team shows more passion. It just goes from an example.
So I just got to clarify though, on the like, are you getting on a project like that? Is there the financial team is reporting to you, the project managers? Are you sort of fielding like a weekly report on a project like that? Like, how do you sort of, and you've got all these projects all over the world. How do you sort of manage keeping everything moving?
Like we are too big already for that. Like, so we have separate functions. Like we have a very very strong lady as a CFO, and very strong guy who's running the operations, and they kind of rule these worlds. And what I'm saying, I'm just catching up behind them, right? Like I'm all over it. I just like to talk to people. I just like to talk to everybody.
Right.
At the same time, I value the opinion and the decision of our main managers, right? So if you're asking like, who's running this, like, manually, like, no, I always talk to them. Sometimes I'm trying to persuade them to certain decisions, but like I finally leave it to them, right?
Right. Oh.
Quite often from the experience, I tell you that if they were resisting just for resisting, like that I'm telling them to do something, and they finally realized and done it, they quite often came back and say like, we should have done it even before when you told us to do it, right? Yeah. Quite often my kind of like bird perspective was correct, right? Like, because I was not involved, but I came into something and I had observations.
Yeah, sort of fresh eyes is what happened.
Yeah. So actually, after a couple of situations like that, our managers also trust me. Like when I come and say something about, well, we need a change here or there, like change a process, tight, some washers and screws and do something, they take it seriously.
So you've kind of, it's sort of an interesting approach. So you're kind of letting these major decisions, people run these major departments, but you're sort of just being around, just sort of almost tinkering. It almost sounds like just kind of keeping an eye on it.
I'm a driver of a strategy and rules.
Yeah.
But I let them a lot of freedom in making decisions. Because after a while, like we were able to consolidate a very strong team.
Yeah.
So no, I wouldn't make these decisions better than them.
Right.
I know, right? They're really specialists on their fields. So like you can't tell them like, on a daily life, like what to do. It's just like when I'm saying there are sometimes adjustments and observations. And luckily they also trust me when I say something and I see something,
Right.
that this is something worth to at least to consider and analyze whenever it's worth to change or adjust or move on.
Miha, it's been great having you back on. It was a great chat last time, but it was also the first time we'd never spoken before. We just chatted, right? And so this time you can tell we
nice to talk to you. Yeah, like it. I like your questions as well, and your focus on specific things. Your focus on things that are actually important, right? Like your question about what's making us successful and how to divide the funding from operations. That's a very legit questions. Like the clients expect both funding, but also operational excellence, right? So they expect you to come with new machines with a lot of hardware, like provide all capital for delivering the project. But also at the same time, you have to be very strong in being in your performance, and performance means flexibility. So it's a sometimes contradictory worlds between big capital and flexibility, and you have to find a proper compromise between those two.
Well, we have two values in our company. Well, we have three, but we have the two of them are flexible and exceptional, and they stand right beside each other. And that exceptional means you need to have an understanding of what has to happen. Ultimately, that's up to us. We need to know how to produce this. But the flexible means you have to have different options so that you're not putting all your clients in a box when, our clients are all over the world. They have different mandates. They have different goals that they want to do. They have different events they're going to. And it's very similar. I think where, you said about my questions, my time, most people know me from doing the show, but most of my time is actually spent managing. The interviews only take up a few hours a week. So all these things you're talking about I'm doing some version of that when this camera goes off. So it's always nice to talk to someone who is and figure out how their process is to get to where they need to be. So it's great education for me, and that gets, of course, passed on to the viewers. So, Miha, thank you very much for doing this. I'm sure we're going to do it again. It was great to have you on.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It was really a pleasure.
And thank you, everybody, for watching. DMC has a YouTube channel, a LinkedIn, of course, their website. You can connect with Miha directly on LinkedIn as well if you'd like. We're going to put all those links in the description. Make sure to subscribe to our channel as well. Thank you for watching. Let us know if you have someone that you think should be on the show. We'd love to get another company featured. We do now hundreds of these Mining Now episodes, and the more we do, the more people want to watch. So we love doing it for you. See you on the next episode of Mining Now.